All right, we're not that far away from a bilateral meeting the president has. Of course, this is typical for presidents when you have the UN in town. This president is having quite a few of these meetings, obviously heightened by the urgency with North Korea. But when they have a meeting or talk to the press afterwards, of course, we'll take you to that. But again, what's getting all the buzz right now, certainly in financial circles, is the significance of the Chinese doing something that prior presidents have tried for the better part of 3 decades. Get China to intervene on our behalf to calm the North Koreans down, to get them over this nuclear fixation, and maybe to freeze the funding that they have, or at least try to. And that apparently succeeded. The president now outlining a plan with the Chinese where their central bank, which is the boss of all their banks, it's not, again, like our Federal Reserve. We can give suggestions. The Federal Reserve can tell you how many reserves to keep on hand. But it's very different in China, where they can tell you, just stop it. And they've told, when it comes to North Korea, just stop it. All of our member banks, just stop dealing with North Korea. Former Navy SEAL Commander Dave Sears. Of course, the devil's in the details, I'm sure, Dave. But what do you think of this and whether the Chinese will keep their word?
I think it's good news. It's definitely a step in the right direction, There's still a lot more steps that have to take place. Right. Will they keep their word? I believe they will. I think China's calculus is changing. You referenced all the prior presidents and administrations. Well, China, it was never really in their interest to counter North Korea because they maintained some stability in the region. Now that calculus is changing.
You said that so much better than I, and I had hours to address it. Dave, the one thing I do wonder, though, is whether it's too late. I don't want to be cynical or jaded, but is North Korea so overboard that it's got what it needs to continue doing what it's doing? What do you think?
I think that they do have what they need to continue what they're doing. So that's where the military option piece comes in. When we talk military option, I'm not just talking about some kind of preemptive strike. I'm talking about ballistic missile defense primarily. That's a huge one. We have to demonstrate the capability, so if they do pursue this path, you can defang them. So we put like a national effort behind ballistic missile defense.
So let's say they launch another missile. I always love these particular pictures because it looks like Kim Jong-un is at the Academy Awards. He's not. I guess he's at their giant legislative assembly. But anyway, one of the things that he has been doing is upping the ante, the technological sophistication of these missiles and what they can carry with them further and further, more powerful and powerful. And he's well along on that process here. And I think the Chinese themselves are very worried about it, to the point that now they're concerned for their region. Probably too late, but how militarily does that free up our options, and whether the Chinese seem to be just as concerned? For example, if we were to shoot down one of their missiles on the next launch, would that be deemed a provocative act on the part of the Chinese?
I believe that, like all things in diplomacy and international relations, you have to begin establishing a narrative. And you have to talk to the Chinese on this. Let them know this is a defensive measure. We can't exactly guarantee where that missile's going. We can't exactly guarantee what its payload is. So this is a defensive measure, and we should put it that way. It's a defensive measure. It's leaving their international airspace and going into other international airspace. It's a danger to shipping, a danger to aircraft. And we're within our rights to go ahead and shoot it down. Let's start using that narrative.
All right, we talked about China and whether it is we're playing financial ball now. We haven't mentioned Russia. We haven't gotten a comment from Russia. We haven't mentioned Iran. Of course, there are suspicions, and you've had them as well, that they're helping North Korea in their own way. What do we do there with the Iranians, and especially signs that we are getting very close to ripping up that agreement? What do you think?
So Iran is mirroring North Korea. They're watching all this occur, but what we've done with North Korea and why we're at where we're at is because we've kicked the can down the road. So you look at this agreement, this JICPOA, the 5+1 agreement, it's basically, it was never intended to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. It's meant to kick the can down the road. I mean, that's how it's established. Kick the can down the road. It's ridiculous. We need to revisit it. You either throw it in the shredder or definitely put harsher pieces on it. That's going to be very difficult, though.